Bring in show music, please.
This is Squawk Pod, and I'm CNBC producer Cameron Costa. Today's episode, affordability on the table. The Thanksgiving table. First, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins on America's role in the global soybean trade, and when the Trump administration will deliver aid to American farmers.
We are looking at the aid right now. We have always said it is to solve for, to mitigate anything under these new trade negotiations. Every day that changes, and that's what we're working. So we'll have an announcement probably in the next week or two.
Then chef, restaurateur, and cookbook author Lidia Bastianich. Thanksgiving may cost less this year compared to last year, but still Americans are feeling pinched. Bastianich cooks up cost-conscious nourishment by getting back to basics.
Buy seasonally, number one, and use a lot of the kind of legumes, the dry things, things that I remember my grandmother cooking,
Those conversations, plus peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, New York City's mayor-elect Mamdani in the Oval Office, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning.
Wacky is a good word for it's a weird populist wing of the Republican Party.
It's Monday, November 24th.
The show is like having breakfast it's like Thanksgiving dinner over breakfast. It just happens to be Thanksgiving week.
And Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue it, please.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Good morning. It's Monday. Got a lot going on. Sorta.
Let's talk about some of the big geopolitical news. U.S. and Ukraine officials saying they made some pretty good progress yesterday in talks for a peace plan backed by President Trump. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that the American and Ukrainian teams were working through that peace plan point by point and making adjustments. He said that an agreement could be reached in a reasonable amount of time, but noted they would have to reach a deal that the Russians would agree to. A U.S. official telling the New York Times on Saturday that plans for separate talks between U.S. and Russia are underway. So we're going to keep our eyes on that and take a look at European defense stocks because they're under some pressure this morning. The stocks Europe Aerospace and Defense Index dropping more than 1%, that after falling more than 3% on Friday. Meantime, President Trump meeting with Mayor of New York City, or the mayor-elect of New York City, I should say, Zohran Mamdani at the White House on Friday. I think we all saw it, watched it. A meeting that was expected to be quite contentious. It ended up being more than cordial. President Trump made it clear that he was impressed by Mamdani's victory. Mamdani pointing out both he and Trump have been focused on the high cost of living. Here's President Trump's take on the meeting.
I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. I will say there's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York.
But then interestingly, yesterday, and actually in the Oval Office as well, on Meet the Press, Mamdani said he still believes the president is a fascist. But he said this about the meeting with Trump.
I thought again and again about what it would mean for New Yorkers if we could establish a productive relationship that would focus on the issues that those New Yorkers stay up late at night thinking about. Because so often in our politics, we try and tell people what they should be worried about, what they should be concerned about. But when you actually ask New Yorkers and you listen to them, you hear it come back to the issues that animated not just the conversation the president and I had with the press after our meeting, but frankly in the meeting itself.
Okay, guys, so what do you think? Was this game meets game? What's the analysis here in terms of the cordial nature, or is this just a temporary blip until it's not?
Probably. I mean,
I don't know. It was.
You see how things go. I mean, just take Elon Musk and the way that goes with Trump. Trump would it surprise you if things got really nasty? I mean, this next story, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, in the relationship with Trump. Marjorie traitor Greene, and then he says she's great. I hope she comes back into politics. Trump does love a winner, and I think he also is impressed by political skills, which is this guy obviously has. But I don't know, what's Mamdani, what does he think of Trump? He called him a fascist again.
I think he thinks he's a nice fascist.
A nice fascist. A fascist, it is a...
Nice fascist and despot.
It's a topsy-turvy political world right now, which leads into what I was going to say was this next story. In a blow to the Democratic Party, Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene announced on Friday that she will resign from Congress on January 5th. Everyone's favorite Democrat for the last six weeks. So crazy. In a video posted online, Greene explained her decision and said she didn't want her congressional district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary. She was, I don't know whether the writing was on the wall for her or what, but saying a hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for. I'm not sure her poll numbers were great and whether she would have been able to win again or not. President Trump has branded her a traitor and wacky, which isn't much of a stretch, I don't think. And he said he would, the wacky part, he would, aren't we all though, would endorse a challenger against her when she ran for re-election next year. Speaking to NBC News yesterday, President Trump was asked if Greene has a future in Republican politics. He said, it's not going to be easy for her, but I'd love to see that. He then said she's got to take a little rest and rehab. And there's already an op-ed piece in the Journal that J.D. Vance, ignore MTG at your own peril for 2028, which to me, when I even heard it, even floated, there's just, in what world is that going to be a viable possibility? And the Journal goes on to talk about some of the other, parts of the Republican Party that she sort of epitomizes. And none of them are good. Corporations are nefarious, must be politically controlled. Advocates for more defense spending are war profiteers. Donors to the GOP who don't donate to her aren't real Americans. I mean, wacky is a good word for it's a weird populist wing of the Republican Party.
A huge defender of the president, defended him, thought the election was stolen from him last time along.
Thinks she represents MAGA. She thinks she represents the MAGA. If she represents the MAGA party, then, some distance from some of the crazy notions, I think is good. I'm sorry, Andrew. I know that lately you said her.
No, I'm just laughing because for up until 5 weeks ago, you never called her wacky.
That's not.
You thought this was all good.
That is total crap. That's total crap, Andrew. That's total crap. When you say you to me, do you mean some composite of some right-wing MAGA person? Marjorie Taylor Greene was never. I would have never said anything about her that, wow, she's a great representative of the Republican Party. That's total crap. I mean, unlike you, who Mamdani is your perfect Democrat, which is you've always said because you agree with all of his policies. That's the same type of ludicrous comment that you just made to me. Marjorie, who else is my favorite Republican? Steve Bannon?
There was a time.
No, there was never a time. I knew I met the guy before Trump was even elected. What was his latest thing? He said he will be president in 2028. Trump will be president. He says the most incendiary things just for publicity. You know who I like? I like Thune. I like Johnson. I like John Thune. I like Mike Johnson. I like, I have a whole list that I can give you that doesn't include, who's the other flamethrower besides MTG?
Lauren Boebert.
Boebert. Wacky Lauren Boebert. Yeah, have you ever seen me start talking about Candace Owens or who's the crazy guy, Fuentes, whatever his name is? It is a crazy,
Fuentes, yes.
It is a crazy party right now. But I'm going to start doing that to you. If you start saying MTG is my girl, I'm going to start talking to you about Mamdani. Who else?
Because you have been for the last 15 years.
All right, so I had to get that out. Do not tie me to old Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know what's going to happen. I doubt if she's going to be president. That's all I'll say. Take back everything else I said. Is she a MAGA stalwart? I mean, I
don't know. President Trump says he's the only one, that he is MAGA and that he knows what that party is.
J.D. Vance, even though I think J.D. Vance gets a little bit taken in by some of the Oren cast populist, anti-corporate wing of the party. If it was a perfect world, I'd clone Ronald Reagan. Andrew, you understand that? Maybe you'd clone Bill Clinton. No, he's still alive. Sorry.
He is.
But we are in a strange political environment right now, and I don't know what the end result of any of it.
The parties are both very broad
The
at this moment, shall we say.
They're broad, but the fringe elements of the Republican Party are fringy, and then and then we got the Democratic Party and Becky's friend Hakeem.
You know who we're going to have on soon this week?
Leader Jeffries. I shouldn't just call him by the first name.
Yeah. Well, actually, I haven't booked it yet, so let's see. But what we should probably talk about in the meantime is what's happening.
You have who?
No, I'm looking to try and bring together some of the people who are still trying to work on a bipartisan basis. Because if you're actually going to get anything done with health care, there is a group of bipartisan
you think you could
people
get
who are working
either
together.
one of them on? No.
Either one of both of them?
Are there two left?
There's a handful of people who are trying to work in the middle. Susan Collins is one of them, the senator who's been doing some of these things. But we're going to try and look at some of those solutions too, because we are facing up against the deadline for what's going to happen with the ACA tax credits. It is going to mean higher healthcare costs for a lot of Americans. And there are big questions about how you fix that, how you bring down the rate of inflation in healthcare that has just been out of control for decades at this point. We'll continue.
Andrew, you're right. I am going to lay off the collective you when I say you about certain things, when I pigeonhole you and label you in that area, and then you won't do it to me. All right, because we're both our own people.
Deal?
Is that a deal? If you don't tell me I'm like an MTG acolyte, and I won't say you're. I always
say this show is like having breakfast just over. It's like Thanksgiving dinner over breakfast. It just happens to be Thanksgiving week. So I'm with you.
Do not call me the crazy drunk old uncle, or I'll call you the hippie, goatee wearing, meathead.
Well, just getting everybody ready for their family gatherings this week. In the meantime, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying that the Trump administration is working on bringing down health care costs, that topic we were just talking about, and to expect an announcement this week.
We had a very big October for home sales. Energy prices, gasoline is down. We believe health care is going to come down. We will see an announcement this coming week on that. And so across the board, prices are starting to come down.
He made that comment yesterday on NBC's Meet the Press. President Trump has said that he hopes to secure a plan by January 30th to address the coming surge in health care premiums caused by subsidies that expire at the end of this year. And yes, it is going to be a campaign issue for 2026.
Cheese will be next.
Next on Squawk Pod, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Aid for farmers, the soybean trade, and rising baseline costs of food, labor, and fuel across the country.
Americans, we believe, will see real relief very, very soon. Those numbers are already down, but much more to come.
An optimistic take from the Trump administration right after this. Welcome back to Squawk Pod from CNBC with Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Here's Joe.
An executive order signed by President Trump removing tariffs on Brazilian coffee and beef is expected to ease food costs for Americans. Joining us now, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. You came to New York.
I did. Great to be here.
You're all set. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
Affordability. I saw Secretary Bessent. I kind of liked it. We hope to see him soon, too. But he was asked about some specific item being up, I don't know, 8% or something like that. And I think he said, do you know, he asked Kristen Walker, how much does your arm weigh? And she said, excuse me? And he said, how much does your arm weigh? When you measure your weight, do you measure your arm or do you look at it, the entire, how much weight?
The entire basket.
There's certain things we can control,
yeah,
mainly energy, and that might flow through setting up 2026 to be much more affordable. Is that the way to view it?
That's it. And first of all, it's so fun to be with you all and not in a black box, right, looking into a camera lens. So thanks for having me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this administration has been incredibly focused on getting the American dream back into every American's home and goals, et cetera. And affordability is a huge piece of that. Of course, I'm the Agriculture Secretary, so food production, supporting our farmers and ranchers is a big piece. And when you look at, under Joe Biden the last 4 years, we had an increase in inputs, interest rate 73%, fertilizer 36%, labor increased 47%. Not surprising that the driver, and of course, no new trade deals during those 4 years, no way to move the food out. So when you look at all of that in total, it's no surprise that what we inherited was an absolute economic mess. But those numbers are coming down. There are a few outliers, and you mentioned Secretary Bessent talked about a couple of those yesterday. We're working on those extremely diligently. But as we're restructuring the entire economy, as we're bringing down inflation, bringing down fuel, bringing down labor, Americans, we believe, will see real relief very, very soon. Those numbers are already down, but much more to come.
The original rationale behind the tariffs on Brazil, which I guess are coming off, what was the thinking there? What's the thinking now? Do we not? It'd be nice if we made everything here, but we can't possibly produce everything in the United States. Was that the wrong move? Now all of a sudden we need these things. Prices are up, so the tariffs come off. Was it right? Was it ill-conceived? The original tariff?
Listen, the president, who I was his domestic policy chief in the first administration, built the America First Policy Institute in the interim. I mean, I have been next to him on policy for a really long time now. His vision of realigning the entire world economy around putting American products first and America first, but also using tariffs as a really important economic tool to make sure that we are doing everything we can for our country and to keep our country at the top of the world. So when it comes to Brazil, for example, there was a whole background on that, and this is more probably Secretary Rubio's lane than mine, but what the president did was using these as economic tools, but also important foreign policy tools as well. Now, what happened with Brazil with those tariffs coming off is this. We're now just back to where we were in February when Liberation Day was announced, meaning that, for example, on a lot of goods, including beef and others, we're back to the 25% tariff that is congressionally authorized. So when they say we're taking the tariffs off of Brazil, all we're doing is going back to what was there originally, which was 25%. So the president continues, I believe, to move America forward in such a remarkable way. All of these achievements over the last just 10 months, that's kind of amazing. Some days it feels like 10 years, but we've really only been 10 months, and there's so much good left to do.
But the farmers might get helped eventually. That hasn't happened yet, right? $15 billion, is it in the works? And it's okay. So we do tariffs on one hand. That's to try to accomplish one thing, but that hurts. That has unintended consequences, maybe with farmers. So we're using this $15 billion for. Was it a good idea? Was it positive in the end? I guess you can use some of the tariff proceeds, maybe for the $15 billion for the farmers.
So a couple of quick points on that. First of all, what the president did with Liberation Day, with enacting all these tariffs back in February, we now have dozens of new trade deals. And within Indonesia, Australia, Japan, EU, England, it's just remarkable. And a lot of these deals, people tried for 20, 25 years to get these deals. Again, under the last administration, we didn't have one new trade deal. We went from a agriculture trade surplus under Trump 1 to a deficit, $50 billion deficit in just agriculture. So think about the effects on our farmers and our ranchers. $50 billion is a significant amount when you're growing corn or soybeans or apples or whatever you're growing. So being able to solve for that, which now we're doing, again, it's incredible. But to your point about the aid, the president always said he would take care of the farmers. They have been with him since he came down the escalator just a few blocks from here in 2015 and began this next chapter. So yes, we are looking at the aid right now. We have always said it is to solve for, to mitigate anything under these new trade negotiations. Every day that changes, and that's what we're working. So we'll have an announcement probably in the next week or two on what that's going to look like. We're selling a lot more soybeans than we were, though, a couple months ago when we first started talking about that.
That was the big problem. China went from the biggest buyer of soybeans to zero purchases of soybeans. That was the biggest issue that happened. That happened on President Trump's watch.
Well, so we have seen a decline from China buying soybeans for years. It is an important point, though, because China, just a few years ago, was buying about 65% of our soybeans from America. They have pivoted to buying a lot of Brazilian soybeans. And also the president has said, as has Secretary Bessent, that using our soybean farmers for leverage is not okay. So in the last, just a couple of weeks ago, the announcement was that China is back on to buy soybeans, 12 million metric tons this year, 25 million metric tons over the next few years. They've already put in a purchase order. We've already started shipping soybeans their way, almost 1.5 million metric tons. We have every indication they will continue to buy soybeans, sorghum, et cetera. But it goes to the larger effort of President Trump. We can't be so reliant as Americans producing American products on one country, a foreign adversary. So opening up, Japan's going to buy more soybeans. The EU's going to buy more soybeans. There are countries all around the world now that have committed to that, Argentina and others. So next year, I think you'll begin to see a incredible move toward these opening markets and moving more of our American agriculture products out. Soybeans are at their highest number they've been in about 15 months. Other parts of our row crops are not seeing that as much, but we're working on that too. But just solving for relying on just one country to buy more than a majority, we just can't do that anymore.
Andrew's got a question too.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Secretary. Hey, how are you? Help me
Good.
understand this, and tell me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that you said in the White House, it said that China was going to buy 12 million metric tons of soybeans from the United States by January. We're now just about a month and a half away from that. They have, according to the USDA report, only made 2 big purchases, and they total, in total, 332,000 metric tons. How is that pledge, if that is a real pledge, and China has not confirmed that pledge, going to be made in that quick a time?
Andrew, thank you. We're actually about 1.5 million metric tons, but your point is still salient, right? That 1.5 million of 12 million, we've got a significant way to go. I know they are inking the deal this week or next week. Again, every sign is their commitment remains true, that they will indeed buy or purchase 12 million metric tons or put the order in. It doesn't mean we'll move 12 million metric tons by the end of December, but it means that those orders will come in according to their commitment and their promise to our president and to Secretary Bessent and to Ambassador Greer. So again, we have every indication that those will continue to move. Even if the purchase order comes in before the end of December, those will move early next year.
Madam Secretary, the affordability, everyone's talking about it now. And I'm not sure everyone understands that when you say, the president says prices are coming down. What he really means is we're trying to get inflation down, because prices rarely actually fall. Some could in individual areas, obviously eggs or something like that, when they're up because of bird flu. But the overall inflation rate is usually positive. Mm-hmm. So all of those very difficult numbers we saw in the last administration of 9% 1 year, I think 5% average inflation over the 4-year period. Those are still in the marketplace now for consumers, which is why I think they're feeling it. How can you, just agriculture is not, you can't control everything there. Some of those are one-offs. A lot of it is housing or remnants of all the spending that was done post-COVID by both the Trump and Biden administration. There was too many dollars chasing too few goods. Do you see the administration getting down to 2% with inflation, or the Fed, whoever you give it credit to?
Well, I really appreciate the question. The structure of what's happening is incredibly positive. Inflation, the latest numbers, were down to 2.9%. To your point, after having been at a high of 9%, average of 5% in Joe Biden, we're already down to 2.9%.
That was about where it was when Biden left, though.
Well, that's right, but it's continuing to come down. We've seen food prices come down. The average Thanksgiving meal is down about 5%. Now, turkey's down 17%, dinner rolls are down 22%. So we have some really good numbers there. You see the job numbers at an incredible 2.5 million American-born citizens now are employed that weren't under Biden. The mortgage rates are now down about $200 on average per month, and making a lot of progress on housing, which is about 40% of the average Americans spend out of pocket every year.
But a lot of it's flat.
So those numbers are very positive.
You have to look forward and think it's going to be 2000. I think Secretary Bessent is saying that it's set up for lower move, because I think 2.9 might actually have ticked up, or 3% has ticked up a little from when the president took over. So that's where people, I think, are still feeling the pinch of higher prices, although wages at least are going up. Real wages did not rise during the Biden administration.
Wages are rising at their fastest rate in 60 years over the last 10 months. I mean, these are remarkable numbers. But here's the thing. And I think Secretary Bessent said this too, we're not going to tell the American people how to feel.
Right.
We're not going to be the Biden administration where we say, oh, but actually you feel good. And they say, no, we're spending more on milk and eggs than we ever have, and our mortgage rates have gone up. This is not what we're doing. Instead, we are putting the fundamentals in place to get back to a thriving growth in the economy. We had a 4.2% GDP number recently. The structure is there. We'll continue to work on it, continue to bring costs down, continue to deregulate. Listen, all of the great policy in the One Big Beautiful Bill, the tax cuts, the deregulation, the shrinking of the government programs, that hasn't even gone into effect yet.
Right.
So all of these positive indicators are even without having that bill going into effect, which is going to be extremely positive for the American people.
Right. And core inflation doesn't include, food and energy.
That's right. That's right, Joe.
That's all you can do is food, right? That's.
I'll say that, but I will also say this cabinet is so different. We all work hand in glove. I am in constant communication 7 days a week with everyone from Bobby Kennedy to Scott Bessent to Lori Chavez on labor to Kelly Loeffler on small business. It's pretty amazing, this team of people that the president has assembled. It's such an honor to be a part of it.
Get them all in here, because it was nice to have you on set.
Thank you. Yes, I will. We should all sit around this table and have a great conversation.
People come to New York, at least for now.
Yes.
We'll see.
Well, that's a very good point,
Exactly.
actually, Joe.
All right. Thank you.
Still cooking up on Squawk Pod, chef, author, and restaurateur Lidia Bastianich. Her tips for a holiday season that nourishes in food and in spirit. Plus a tip right from her own Thanksgiving table.
You know what I do with the turkey to make it a little bit special and a little bit Italian? I take balsamic vinegar, I reduce it.
You'll have to stick around to hear what exactly she's doing with that reduction. We're back after this break. You're listening to Squawk Pod.
You're watching Squawk Box on CNBC. I'm Andrew Sorkin, along with Joe Kernen and Becky Quick. We got a lot going on this holiday shortened week.
Our next guest runs a food and media empire and will give us her view on food prices, consumers, and much more. Joining us right now is chef, restaurateur, and award-winning TV host Lidia Bastianich. Her latest book is Lydia's The Art of Pasta, and her new PBS special debuts tomorrow evening. It's Lydia Celebrates America, a Nation of Neighbors. Lydia, first of all, welcome. It's great to see you.
Oh, pleasure.
We've had you on a lot of times over the years, and you are somebody who recognizes that food brings people together, that it's a unifying thing in all of our lives. It makes our lives better, and we completely appreciate that. Because we're a business network, let's start a little bit just talking about food inflation, because it's been a big issue. We had the Secretary of Agriculture here earlier this morning. Where is food inflation right now? What do you see in your restaurants? What do you see from the perspective of the consumer, what they can and can't afford right now?
Well, food is up all over for the restaurants, wholesale, retail, and everybody's feeling the pinch. If it costs me X amount, I have to run a business. Therefore, my markup has to be decent, not over, but everybody's conscious about it. And, cooking, knowing how to cook the right thing, buying the right thing in season could all sort of help you through this process.
So what do you do as somebody who has been running restaurants for years, who knows how to navigate these things? What do you yourself do?
Buy seasonally, number one, and use a lot of the kind of legumes, the dry things, things that I remember my grandmother cooking, she would watch, she would measure everything. It wasn't that abundant after war, the day after. And so today we kind of look the same, long cooking technique, the secondary cuts of meat, braising it a long time. And you know what? People are liking it, and people are getting in the kitchen. In self-defense it might be, but really getting at the table, sitting with the family, and putting some good food. And it doesn't have to be a prime rib. It could be a good plate of baked pasta, and or just a soup, secondary braised meats with some vegetables next to it. So, planning well, buying well, and being conscious.
Your latest special, the one on PBS premiering tomorrow, is really interesting because it gets at the heart of food being something that can really bring communities together. What did you get at with this? It's called A Nation of Neighbors.
Absolutely. We are a nation of neighbors. And sometimes, you feel all kinds of, you hear being maligned, our nation's being maligned and whatever, but it's not so. Out there, there's a lot of good people, and what keeps, I think, America together is this feeling of neighborhood. You know, again, I remember as I was a child, you know, in a small town in Italy, one road, all the houses, we knew everybody. My mother wasn't home, I would go to the neighbor, they would feed me. And this is what's happening all over America. People are caring about the neighbors, whether it's in California, I went in Portland, I went in Denver, and whether it's a restaurant. You know, there was a restaurant called the same restaurant in Colorado. And there, you can pay for your food. You can go in if you're hungry, they'll feed you. But you can work, you can peel potatoes, you can wash dishes, you can serve. So you can, or if you produce tomatoes or whatever, you bring the extra and they feed you. So all kinds of concepts really to help our neighbors and to really, because at the basis of our life is sitting together at the table and nourishing each other if we can, helping those that have maybe less than us.
You also went to California right after the Los Angeles wildfires. What did you see there?
Oh, that was really moving. They took me right through the whole neighborhoods, and it's no reservation is a concept where food is cooked, but it's cooked in an appreciative way of the people that need it. It is not a box of food, here you are, eat what you can. It's actually setting up a table, having invitation, having some good music, and appetizers, main course, served. And it was wonderful to see those people that maybe lived in a tent or lived in a hotel to come together at the table with their neighbors. And you know what? They would bring little things from home. You know, like a pot of coffee, Turkish coffee, and whatever, all different nationalities. It didn't matter. That table was really where the heart was.
It is Thanksgiving week, and we're getting ready for Thanksgiving dinners everywhere. The good news is a Thanksgiving dinner itself is actually cheaper this year than it was last year. Part of that is turkey prices down about 17%. What tips do you give people for not only pulling together that Thanksgiving meal, but what makes it special and how you do it?
Well, it's giving. That's what Thanksgiving is. It's using your oven a lot, you know, because especially if you have a large family, make sure that whatever you plan, you put in, you use the oven, whether it's vegetables, whether it's the appetizer. So nice, again, a big tray of baked pasta as an appetizer. Put your vegetables, all mixed vegetable, on a tray, in the oven, roasted. And of course, the turkey. The turkey, you know what I do with the turkey to make it a little bit special and a little bit Italian. I take balsamic vinegar. I reduce it. You know, the one, not the expensive one, the one in the stores. And I reduce it with a little bit of rosemary or honey to like molasses. And in the last half hour of the roasting of the turkey, I brush the turkey with that kind of balsamic molasses. And it becomes mahogany and it has a little sweetness. So a nice little tip to make your turkey delicious, beautiful, and a little Italian.
Lydia, thank you for coming in today. I think we're all looking forward to sharing this time with our families, and we appreciate you coming in and joining us today. Lidia Bastianich.
Thank you for having me.
That's the podcast for today. Thank you for joining us. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Tune in every weekday morning on CNBC starting at 6 a.m. Eastern, except for holidays.
We have Turkey Day almost every day here, depending on the guests, don't we?
To get the smartest bits of that TV show right into your ears, follow Squawk Pod wherever you get your podcasts. We'll meet you right back here tomorrow. Have a great day, and happy Thanksgiving prep.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.